All right, how we doing, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I haven't uploaded in probably 6 or 7 months. I would say my last try was definitely a failure. If you watch those last 2 videos, you know my original intention for the channel was to film myself for 60 days every day. And if you look, there's only 2 videos. So I basically did it twice and then gave up. But I definitely learned something from the experience. In those videos, I was walking and talking, and that helped me deal with my nervous energy. I definitely have a lot of nervous energy and tend to think about what I say. And whenever I talk on the phone, I like to walk when I do it. But for this go around, I'm going to try staying seated and trying to really sit in the moment of what I'm talking about. And I think it'll help me stay on track and not ramble so much. And also in those videos, there was a lot of noise from the rustling of the leaves as I was moving around, and I was also getting kind of out of breath, so I felt like it was sort of hard to understand me. But yeah, I definitely did not achieve my goal. I only did 2 days out of 60. And my biggest takeaway from that is that as somebody who's struggled with addiction my whole life, I tend to have an all or nothing attitude. So I tell myself, oh, I'm going to do this thing every day for 60 days straight, hard nose, get it done. In my mind wants to tell me that either I commit my entire life to this one activity, or there's no reason to do it at all. And in my mind, it feels like in order to do something, I have to sacrifice everything else in order to have it. And I think maybe that narrative gets pushed on us a lot. I'm not sure if other people struggle with this, but it's definitely something that's held me back a lot in life. There's been other things I've wanted to get into, and I'm able to go all in at first, but it quickly becomes unsustainable, and then I burn myself out, and then I have a reason to quit. And I'm not sure if this is like a self-sabotaging mechanism or what. But in the last 6 or 7 months, I've started to see that life isn't this sprint, and it's more of a marathon, and it's more about a slow consistency. And also it's about being honest with yourself and reasonable about what you can do, and not setting goals that are too far out of reach and unattainable and setting yourself up for failure. So this go around, I've decided on Sundays, I don't have any other obligations. Every other day of the week, I've got one or more major obligations that would prevent me from being consistent. And so my goal this time around is to come out here on Sundays and just talk to the camera, talk to you guys about what's been on my mind, some insights that I've had, and just make a habit of it, and try not to have any unrealistic expectations about what I can reasonably accomplish. And if I can go a year, maybe 2 years of recording a video every Sunday and posting it, then eventually I'll start to gain some momentum, and I'll really concrete this activity as a piece of myself, because I will have put the repetition and hours in. And the hardest part is doing something over and over again enough to where it becomes a part of you. And in that process, you often have to overcome several different layers and stages of emotion. And if you try to go through that process too quickly, especially if you have a lot of other responsibilities in your life, it just becomes too easy to say, screw it, I can't handle this right now. This is not benefiting me, it's only hurting me, and it's not worth it to me to keep at it. So I think it's important in life you need to be ambitious, but you also need to be reasonable with yourself. And a big part of that is the ability to be honest with yourself and your own limitations about what you can reasonably accomplish and strive for, and keeping the bar low enough that you can actually reach it. Set the bar just high enough that you are forced to do something difficult and slightly out of your comfort zone, but not so difficult that you'll never reasonably make it and just setting yourself up for failure. So that being said, I'd like this channel to just be a space to where I can share some of the stories, insights, things I've learned about, talk about my journey with becoming a man as somebody who did not have much guidance or male mentors, somebody who struggled a lot with addiction in my marriage, just a lot of internal struggle and feeling stuck in my life and not able to accomplish the things that I wanted to accomplish. I do feel like those tides are starting to turn for me, and I'm starting to be able to make small, real steps in my life to start to confront the edges of myself and allow for growth. I feel like I'm starting to become braver, more courageous, and really feel like I'm able to step forward in the world. I went through most of my 20s struggling with addiction, and even though I was somewhat of a confident teenager, that addiction really crushed me and caused me to think very little of myself. And even though I've been sober for almost a year and a half now, it's really been a slow process to rebuild my own self-image, and doing things that are difficult for me and that I've been scared to do has been an integral part of that process. But also learning to be, like I've said, be reasonable and slow and patient and kind with myself. So I really have to learn to parent myself from both sides, to be the father that pushes and encourages, but then also be the mother that nourishes and comforts. And I can't go too extreme in one direction or the other, or ultimately no progress will ever be made, because as an adult, I'm responsible for myself, and that means ultimately if I don't like how I'm treating myself, if I'm being too hard on myself, I can choose to blow my life up and be forced to start all over. So if I push myself too hard, I've noticed my impulse is to basically flip the table over and reset the game. But if I don't push myself at all, then I end up with no movement, just playing video games and basically feeling like a piece of shit. So I'm starting to see that there's a middle way forward that will cause me to grow, but it has to be within a reasonable amount of time. If you look at plants and how much they grow, some plants, it takes them years and years to even reach the age of maturity, and it's just slow and steady and very incremental. It's not ever all at once. And I think being outside and being in nature and seeing the slow passage of time and how little by little things change, and each day everything is okay where it's at in that moment, trying to keep that attitude and understanding that it's not about the destination, it's just about observing where you're at now and accepting and appreciating it, because every stage of life has its lesson and something of value to offer you. And I think the best life you could live would really have multiple aspects that were in different stages of maturity. So you would have certain aspects of your life that you were very mature and advanced at, but then you would also have aspects of your life where you're a new and beginner, and aspects of your life where you're an intermediate. And I think through doing that, by always starting new things, but also tending to things that you are beginning to develop mastery in, you can experience the fullness of life and live a life that is fulfilling while also constantly challenging you to become a better version of yourself. So that's my intention with this channel. I've got some things I'd like to talk about, some stories of addictions, how I overcame them, things that have really helped me along my way, insights. So I don't expect to be very good at this. I don't expect it to really go anywhere fast, but I'm just going to stick with it and see where the journey goes and try to enjoy myself along the way. So if that's something that you're interested in watching, come along for the ride, and I'll see you next Sunday.